Thank you. I am truly happy to be here. I've always dreamt of performing in a beautiful concert hall like this. But don't worry, I'm not going to sing. If I sing, you'll all leave the room. Instead, what I'll do is talk about the state of our world and Asia's role in it. So let me begin by asking, what is the state of our world? And here I want to quote from a very famous saying by a famous British novelist, Charles Dickens, who said once, "We live in the best of times, we live in the worst of times." And this is probably a very good description of our world today. So how do we live in the best of times? Amazingly, when future historians look at our times, especially at the last 20 or 30 years, they would say that we have actually carried humanity to the verge of utopia. Now, this is a very strong statement to make. So let me back it up with evidence. 3 examples. First, you'll be surprised to learn that we are living in one of the most peaceful moments of world history. The Harvard professor Steven Pinker has documented that battle deaths in interstate wars has gone down from 65,000 in the 1950s to 2,000 today. See the shrinkage. Second, we have reduced dramatically the number of people living in extreme poverty. Professor Max Roser, Oxford University, has documented that in 1950, 75%, 3/4 of the world's population were living in extreme poverty. Today, less than 10%. This is the most spectacular improvement in the human condition ever in human history. And third, the global middle-class populations, and you see that in Shanghai, middle-class populations, is exploding. It was 1.8 billion in 2009. It rose to 3.2 billion by the end of 2016. And in 2 years' time, about half the world's population is going to enjoy middle-class living standards. And of course, as Wei Wei said, China will have the world's largest middle-class population. So a round of applause for the largest middle-class population in China. Now, having given you the good news, how can I say we live in the worst of times? How? How do we live in the worst of times? We live in the worst of times because what has been until now the most successful civilization, the Western civilization, has now become the most pessimistic civilization. I think Wei Wei, you showed some statistics on how the young people feel about the future. And trust me, they don't believe that a great future lies ahead for them. And that's why they're voting for populist parties, rejecting mainstream parties, and they're fighting among themselves. You saw in the G7 meeting in Quebec just a few weeks ago. The G7 is broken apart. And so the question is, what's happened? That's why in April I launched this book in London called Has the West Lost It? And I try to explain in a very short book what mistakes the West has made. It's made many, but let me highlight one. And this was at one of the most triumphalist moments in the history of the West, which was the end of the Cold War around 1990. Because having defeated the Soviet Union without firing one shot, the West became so incredibly arrogant. And leading Western intellectuals in America and Europe enthusiastically embraced the famous essay by Francis Fukuyama entitled The End of History. And in this essay, Fukuyama said, and I'm quoting, "What we may be witnessing is not just the end of the Cold War or the passing away of a particular period of post-war history, but the end of history as such. That is, the end point of mankind's ideological evolution and the universalization of Western liberal democracy as the final form of human government." That's Francis Fukuyama. And as I say in my book, somewhat cruelly, his essay did a lot of brain damage to the West, because his essay put the West to sleep at precisely the moment when China and India were waking up. As we know, China's economy took off in the 1980s after Mr. Deng Xiaoping, friend of Zhang Weiwei, launched the 4 modernizations in 1978. And India took off about a decade later after Manmohan Singh launched the reforms in 1991. And we have seen, Weiwei has documented this, what a spectacular rise China has had. And I can tell you that the same may well happen for India. And if you want to get a sense of what India's potential is, I suggest you look at the most competitive human laboratory in the world, which is the United States of America. It imports the best brains from every country in the world to come and live and work in America. So that's where you get the most ferocious competition. And guess which ethnic group has the highest income in American society? Is the ethnic Indian community. And how many of you know that 2 of the largest corporations in the world, Microsoft and Google, are run by ethnic Indians? So if the Indian population in India can achieve just 1/3 of the per capita income of Indians in America, India is going to have the largest economy in the world. So that's the potential that we have. And why is this waking up of China and India so significant? It's significant because from the year 1 to the year 1820, for 1800 out of the last 2000 years, let me stress this, for 1800 out of the last 2000 years, the 2 largest economies have always been those of China and India. And it's only in the last 200 years that Europe took off and America took off. So if you view the past 200 years of world history against the backdrop of the past 2,000 years of world history, the past 200 years of world history have been a major historical aberration. All aberrations come to a natural end, so it's perfectly natural to see the return of China and India. And even today, as Weiwei has said, in purchasing power parity terms, the 4 largest economies in the world are number 1, China, number 2, United States of America, number 3, India, number 4, Japan. So 3 out of the top 4 economies are already Asian. So the world has changed dramatically. But for us now, Western pessimism poses a great threat to the world, because with this kind of pessimism, it makes it impossible for Western leaders to explain to their populations, just as we Asians, we had to adjust and adapt and change to succeed. Today, the West has to adjust and adapt and change, and no leader will tell them that. So that's dangerous for us. So in that scenario, we have to do what we can to make sure that we have a good future for ourselves.